Hello, Frank Whitmer from Verdi Precision here to talk about LumenRadio and the W-BACnet app for iOS and Android devices. And what we'll start with is a basic overview of the product line. Basically, three parts. Is a W-BACnet, there's a W-BACnet Pro, and a W-BACnet DIN, the DIN. And basically, the system is a wireless mesh network built on LumenRadio that will allow for MSTP to become wireless. So if you have individual devices out in the field that you want to have go wireless, you could add a W-BACnet, which supports one MSTP device. You can use a Pro model, and that allows up to 4 MSTP devices. And then there's also the DIN rail mount, the DIN model, which allows for one MSTP device, but it's DIN rail mounted and has a removable antenna on it, as you can see in the corner here. There's a little representation of it. So basically, you set up one of the devices as a gateway, and the rest are nodes. You can have up to 100 nodes to one gateway, and each of those nodes, if you have MSTP devices throughout a building that are at different baud rates, you actually could bring them in, and each device that's a different baud rate gets its own node, so you can set its own address, but then it can talk back to the gateway, back to MSTP to go back to your supervisory device, your Jace or whatever that might be. And that's basically the setup of the mesh network. And then if we go into some of the highlights of the product, of the app itself, it allows you to be able to access the network map for the overall system. You get to see how the mesh is built, what devices go through what devices, and how the network is at that point. So you get that overview of the network layout. You get to see what the signal strength is of that network on each of the devices. And then you also have the ability to rename the nodes so that when you build a report or look at the network mapping, you actually have names instead of a encrypted name that they have. So you can also check the health of the RS-485 bus with that, which also then gives you what the addresses are of the MSTP devices that are connected to that particular node. And you can actually use the app, connect to any device or any of these nodes, and do the name changes at each of them if you'd like, or you could do it back at the gateway. And also, you're able to go in and perform an entire system's firmware for all the nodes and the gateway, all done by connecting to the gateway, and it'll update the gateway's firmware, and then it'll push it up and upgrade all of the nodes as well. So if we go in a little deeper and we look at the network map with the app, I did some screenshots from my iPhone, and you'll see here the first part is signal strength, and it's actually what they call their ETX, or packet delivery rate. It's a value of 0 to 100%. And the node, if we look on the right, there's my the network map. It'll be hexagon with a number in it, and that's going to determine what that packet delivery rate is, or your signal strength, basically. It'll be green if it's between 97 and 100%, meaning it's a great signal. It'll be yellow if it's between 87 and 97% with the number in there, and then it'll be red if it's 0 to 87, which means it's not a good signal. And you should add a repeater or another node in the system to be able to get a better signal to those devices that might be outliers a little further away. And then also it gives you the MSTP status. And you'll see by the icons where it says RS-485, red would be that it's down, yellow would be that there is some sort of COM issue or an issue with that MSTP bus, and green means good, everything's talking fine. And when you click on those, it actually does come up with a little explanation of why it's yellow for RS-485 or red, and some examples of what the problem could be. Then lastly, you have the generate PDF report that you can do. It gives you the ability to go in and add some project information, and then you can sort by wireless node name or BACnet ID, which is the MAC address, to show your report. And this is just an example here showing how that report comes up and how it gets listed for you. It gives you your EXT signal, your signal strength, and then the status of your 485 bus. and then also what the MAC addresses are of those devices that are connected to the system. When you generate that report, here is the example of one that I've got set up here at the office that I was playing around with for this this video, and it gives you the name of each of the nodes, and you'll see the nodes that I actually haven't changed the name of, and you see the nodes where I have changed the name, so it makes it a lot easier to see what's what by actually making those changes. And where do you get the app from? Well, you can go to your app store for your iOS devices, or go to Google Play and purchase it from there, and it's just called W-BACnet by LumenRadio, and then load it up, and you're able to work with it. One thing you want to make sure of is that your all of the nodes and the gateway are set up at version 3.2 or later of firmware in order to work with the app. And if there's a need to work with, if you have an older node or an older W-BACnet that you need to upgrade that's older than that, you'll use what they have as the NRF is the app that gets used, and there's a separate procedure, and that's for another video at another time, and there are some videos actually out there from LumenRadio that goes through that as well. Okay, for the first thing we need to do before we launch the app or use the app is we have to put the node, the W-BACnet device, into the Bluetooth mode. So we're going to do the BACnet DIN one first. So I'm going to triple tap it. So you tap it 3 times, and the middle LED turns blue, and that puts it into that mode. And then from there, we can go ahead and do the app. So if I go in and mirror my iPhone to my PC, we'll wait for that to come up. And once that does come up, we will have it on the screen there, and I can turn around and get into the LumenRadio app. So here's the app. It failed. I didn't have a device set up in there for the Bluetooth mode, so now we can tell it to scan again. So I'll click on that. So what we can do is go back here. So what I did was I went in, told it to go ahead and see what was out there. It found my DIN mounted one. It's showing that it is a DIN rail mounted version, and I have no wireless devices that are hopping through this one, and there's no BACnet devices connected either. It's showing our firmware is 3.2.3, and you would go to the gateway to do the update. So if we can disconnect from that one, and what I'll do is I'm going to triple tap the other W-BACnet device, and get back in there and tell it to disconnect and have it go out and search again. So it should find the other device, and we should see the icon change to the standard W-BACnet type. I triple tapped again because I might have waited too long to be able to get in there, and just waiting for that to appear. We may have to now wait for it to, okay, so it didn't find any devices. I will triple tap and then tell it to scan again. And this time it connected, and it's connected to my W-BACnet that I renamed as TR100. There is one BACnet device. It's a TR100 BACnet device. It too is running 3.2.3 firmware, and it says to go to the gateway to do that update. So that gives us all that information. You could go to help, and actually help will take you into links to their site for various documents and videos as well. So what we'll do this time is we're going to go, and I want to triple tap on the gateway device so we can show how things look there. So now we have the gateway in the Bluetooth mode. I'll go back and let it search for the device, and it still came back for that one. Let's go back again. I thought that one would have timed out. There we go. Now we're on the gateway. So the gateway device, I named it gateway. There are 6 wireless devices. So there's 6 W-BACnet devices out there. in the network, and there's a total of 8 BACnet MSTP network devices as well. This device is already set up as 325, so it wouldn't let me do a firmware update, but had it been an earlier version in 325, I would have gone in and I'd click on update firmware. It would download it from LumenRadio, and it would install it on the gateway. And then once it's on the gateway, it's going to push it out to the devices and do them as well. And a message comes up and tells you it could take up to 2 hours. I mean, if you have a mesh of 100 devices, it's going to take some time to send the images to each of the devices and then do that install. So that's the upgrade or the update of the firmware that would get done. So now let's take a look at the network map, because like I said, we have 6 wireless devices and 8 BACnet devices. So if we go in and we click on that, we will see in here that we have a gateway. That's purple or magenta. That's the gateway device. Then I have the other devices in here. My DIN rail mount version. There's a little exclamation point there. If we go and we click on that, you'll see that the RS-45 is down. We click on that. It gives us some things to check. On this device, I know I just don't have a device connected, so that's why we're getting the error, or getting the message of that it's having a problem. And it has one subnode, so it has one node that is hopping off of this device, and that's the TR100 one, and that has a 100% signal, as does the DIN. If we go, then we can see there that that one is set for address 19, MAC address 19. If we look at the next one down, the spider, the RS-45 is good there. It is a W-BACnet with just single device, address 6. We could go down here. Let's look at the FX. It had an error. It's showing yellow for the 485, and it's showing me the 4 devices that are connected. So if I click on the RS-45, it comes up and tells me what the problem is. I actually have 2 MSTP devices out there with the same address. So it did tell me that's what the problem is. So I really need to go out and fix that problem. So at least it gives you that kind of information. It's good information. So you get to see what nodes are out there and what their BACnet MAC addresses are. You get to see what the signal strength is. And then you can also go into these devices and you'll see I still have it named the original name. You could go in there and edit that and change it to whatever you want at that point. And you go from there with that. So we can go down and look at the last one. That's that address 20 that is a duplicate on the network. So we can, it kind of tells us that problem there. Again, go in. It tells us that we have a duplicate address. We get back out of here. We then have if we go back into the network map, we can go in and go to the generate PDF report. You put in your information, your company, project reference, installer name, whatever information you want to put in there, and then you get to pick, do you want to do wireless node name sorting or BACnet ID or the MAC address? You can sort by that. You would then click PDF or generate PDF, and you can save it or share it with your device. And then once that's done, you have the ability then to look at the report. And I do have one saved that I'll bring up on there. And you'll see here that has the information that you enter. And then it gives you a list of all the nodes that are out there and what the MAC addresses are that are attached to each one. And then what the status is of the MSTP network, as well as the signal strength for all of the devices. Okay, that is the W-BACnet app. There's also a W-Modbus app. There's the W-Modbus nodes and gateway, just like we have with W-BACnet. So if you have a need for Modbus, it can be done as well with this LumenRadio product. That's it, and let us know if you have any comments or any questions on it, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thank you very much.